We're here today at the ARC Forum talking with James Knight of Kyndryl. Hi, James.
Morning.
Could you give a little introduction of yourself and Kyndryl?
Sure. I'm James Knight. I'm Director of Network and Edge practice at Kyndryl Canada. Kyndryl is a spinoff of IBM. We've been independent for about a year and some months. But we are, for a startup, we're a very large company. We have over 90,000 employees, over 4,000 customers, and among them we count about 75% of the top 100. So it's not your typical one-year-old. We are divided into multiple practices, and I represent what's called network and edge computing.
We're here today at the ARC Forum where there's a lot of talk about enterprise systems, supply chain, and a bunch of other things, good things. Could you talk a little bit about how Kyndryl fits into that?
Sure. Kyndryl is already a part of most industrial corporations, right? We either manage some of their IT systems, all of their IT systems, or we have interactions where we supply the companies that do work for them. It is not a stretch for us to be on the industrial side of things. And in some companies we really are, right? We work with some car makers in Europe. We work with some shipping companies, airlines. So it's already part of who we are. It is just that for some reason people don't seem to know us as much as they should.
So can you talk a little bit about what a case story, what you did for a particular company?
Well, one good example is we recently completed a project at a very large international petrochemical. And what we did for them was we were supposed to develop and deploy a private LTE, so that's private cellular. And in the end, we turned it into a software-defined LAN component that allows the employees of that company the flexibility to move around the plant, move outside the plant, and it is all connected and it is all immediately acted upon. So it's been a success and it's now being deployed worldwide.
Neat. Worldwide. I assume you've got a worldwide workforce and can support customers globally?
So Kyndryl is about 90,000 employees. We have about 4,000 customers. And as I had mentioned before, we have about 75% of Fortune 100s. We run in, I don't remember the exact number of countries, but we are divided into the US, UK, UI, Japan, Europe, Canada, and the rest of the world. So we can actually deliver systems and services anywhere on the planet.
Wow.
Except Antarctica.
Okay, yeah. So just bridging into another topic a little bit, there's been a lot of talk about zero trust. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So one of the differences about Kyndryl, if you compare it to some of the other exhibitors here, is that we are not a company in a narrow field. We're not looking at PLCs. We're not looking at data coming from the PLCs. We actually have experience, a breadth and depth of experience over all of these areas. In the one I'm qualified to talk about, which is network and edge, we have the capability to transition and create systems out of LTE, Wi-Fi, low Earth orbit, satellite, and most of the time we just put it all together. We deliver systems that are integrating the best technology that would fit the customer. But we have to do it in a secure way, and that's where zero trust comes in.
Okay.
Zero trust is, and here's the funny thing, if you ask 5 people what zero trust is, you may get 5 different answers. For a network guy, zero trust is based on 4 key areas. 1, authentication. You have to know who is sending the data, and you have to know who that data is going to. And more importantly, you have to know whether they're authorized to send the data, right? The second is segmentation. That means that we break down your network into smaller portions. That does 2 things for us. One, it creates those virtual gates where we check that authentication that I just talked about. So is the data allowed to pass through this gate, yes or no? But secondly, if something does get through, it reduces the threat area. So instead of exposing your entire network to malware, we're exposing a small portion of it. The third pillar, the third technology is automation. Human error is one of the biggest, if not the biggest contributor to downtime, ransomware attacks, cyber attacks, right? We've all seen the emails crafted so well, click on this link. Automation is there to reduce human error. I have worked for corporations where after I left, my user ID was still active. And sometimes I join a corporation and 3 months later, my user ID still doesn't work. Automation is there to fix those things. It's to make sure that when you are active, you have the privileges you're entitled to, no more, no less. And then when you leave, we remove all those privileges. The last is visibility. If you don't know what is happening on your enterprise, then you're just totally open yourself to an attack or a ransomware or something else, right? You need to know what is happening. You need to understand the flows of your data, and you need to know how that is affecting your overall enterprise.
Wow. So obviously cybersecurity is an issue. In the industrial segments that are represented here at the ARC Forum, is the cybersecurity threat really that serious?
I subscribe to newsletters from NIST, which is one of the US agencies, and CSIS in Canada, which is Canadian Security Services Agency. And so is the UK. Everybody's basically warning that 2023 is going to see a significant escalation of the previous cyber attacks. The threat is very real, the threat is severe. And our customers need to understand that they have to take action now before they are infected.
We've talked a lot about enterprise systems, supply chain, and cybersecurity a lot. Could you profile a little bit the types of services that Kyndryl offers?
Yeah, so basically, if you look at Network and Edge, we have consulting services, we have managed services. We signed a deal with a very large low Earth orbit satellite provider that allows us to connect anywhere, in any company, anywhere, to their corporate offices. So whether they be offshore oil platforms, or it be an oil rig in the middle of Alaska or in the middle of the Yukon in Canada, we can provide connectivity. That helps the corporate side, but it also helps the individual, because as part of this connectivity, we can give those people working there access to the internet, access to telemedicine, remote learning, so that we're not just helping the corporation connect, we're helping the community built around that enterprise connect as well.
Wow, wow.
And other services, you were asking about other services as well. So we have managed security services, right? Consulting services. We offer things like automation as a service, right? So basically for certain customers, we're able to provide that automation I was talking about earlier without the customer having to invest.
Is that business process automation or other types of automation?
In my line of field, it is automating the servicing and updates and upkeep of the network devices.
Okay.
And that could be industrial network devices.
Well, thank you very much. This discussion has been very interesting. Thank you. We've been talking with James Knight, Director at Kyndryl, here at the ARC Forum. Thank you for watching.